Hey there, everyone. Get ready for a super fun story that starts on a totally normal Saturday. My name's Jake, and I'm just a regular guy who loves cool stuff, especially gadgets that do awesome things. My favorite, my shiny new drone. It's this little flying machine that buzzes around and takes videos from way up high. I live in a small, quiet neighborhood where all the houses look the same, and people usually wave at each other. You know, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, or at least, that's what I thought. So on this sunny Saturday, I was hanging out in my backyard. It's not a big yard, just some grass and a couple of trees, but it's perfect for flying my drone. I turned it on and it made this fun little bzzz sound as it lifted off the ground. I was making it do tricks like spinning in circles and zooming up high, while I filmed it all with the tiny camera stuck on it. I thought it was so cool. I figured I'd show my friends the video later because, honestly, who doesn't love a drone doing flips? But then I saw her. Her name's Karen, and oh boy, she's not like the nice neighbors I'm used to. Karen's the kind of person who thinks she's the boss of everything. Around here, people call her the HOA queen. HOA stands for Homeowners Association. It's this group that makes rules about what we can and can't do in our neighborhood. Like no painting your house bright pink or parking a giant boat in your driveway. Karen loves those rules more than anything. She walks around like she owns every inch of this street, telling people what to do all the time. There she was, peeking over her wooden fence that separates her yard from mine. Her arms were crossed tight and her face looked super mad, like I'd just eaten her favorite cookie or something. She had these big sunglasses on even though it wasn't that sunny, and her hair was all puffed up like she'd spent hours making it perfect. I didn't think much of it at first. I mean, I was just playing with my drone, right? What's the big deal? Hey you, she yelled, her voice sharp and loud. I looked up, surprised, because she sounded like a teacher catching me talking in class. That thing's too loud, she said, pointing at my drone like it was some kind of monster. You're breaking the rules. Her words hit me like a dodgeball to the face. I didn't even know what to say. My drone wasn't that loud, it just made a little hum like a bee flying around. But Karen acted like it was a roaring lion waking up the whole neighborhood. I waved at her and smiled, trying to be nice. Hi Karen, I called back. It's just my drone, it's not hurting anyone. I thought maybe she'd calm down if I acted friendly. You know, like when you pet a grumpy cat and it stops hissing. Yeah, that was my plan. I figured she'd see I wasn't trying to cause trouble and go back to whatever she was doing, like watering her perfect flowers or writing more rules for the HOA. But guess what? She didn't chill out. Not even a little bit. Spoiler alert, Karen was about to make this a way bigger deal than it needed to be. She kept staring at me, her eyes squinting like she was trying to shoot lasers out of them. I could tell she wasn't going to let this go. My drone kept buzzing around, doing its flips, and I kept smiling, but inside, I was starting to wonder what she'd do next. Because here's the thing, Karen didn't know something super important about me. See, I wasn't just some random kid playing with a toy. Oh no. I had a secret, a big, awesome secret that was hiding right up my sleeve, like a magic trick waiting to happen. Karen thought she could boss me around and scare me with her yelling, but she had no idea who she was really dealing with. I wasn't scared of her, not one bit. And soon, she was going to find out why in the most surprising way ever. Let's rewind a little so you can picture it all. My backyard's pretty simple. There's a patchy spot of grass where I play soccer sometimes, a little patio with a table where my mom likes to drink lemonade, and those two trees I mentioned, one's tall and skinny, the other's short and fat. I was standing there in my sneakers and a t-shirt, holding the controller for my drone. It's this little black box with joysticks and buttons, kind of like a video game controller. I'd push the sticks and the drone would zip left or right, up or down. It was so much fun. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, and a tiny breeze was blowing. Perfect drone flying weather. Then Karen showed up and ruined the vibe. She wasn't just mad, she was mad. Like the kind of mad you get when someone eats the last slice of pizza you were saving. Her fence is only about 5 feet tall, so I could see her whole face over the top. She had these bright red lips from lipstick, and her eyebrows were drawn on super high, making her look extra grumpy. "I'm serious," she shouted again. "That noise is driving me crazy. You're not allowed to fly that thing here." I tilted my head, confused. "What noise?" I asked. To me, the drone sounded cool, not annoying. But Karen didn't care what I thought. She stomped her foot, actually stomped it on the ground, and said, "The HOA has rules, young man. I'm going to report you." Young man? I'm not even that young. I'm old enough to drive a car. But to Karen, I guess I was just some troublemaker she needed to fix. I kept smiling because I didn't want her to think she was getting to me. "Okay, Karen," I said, super calm. "I'll keep it quick." My drone was still buzzing around, and I made it do one more loop just to see what she'd do. Her face turned even redder, like a tomato about to pop. She pointed at me again and said, "You'll be sorry." Then she turned around and marched back to her house, her flip-flops slapping the ground with every step. I watched her go, and honestly, I wasn't worried. Why? Because I knew something she didn't. That secret I mentioned, it was going to change everything. Karen thought she could yell at me and win, but she was so wrong. This wasn't just about a drone, it was about something way bigger. And the best part, she was about to walk right into the trap I didn't even mean to set. Let's set the scene a little more so you can feel like you're there. My house is a regular one, white with a red door and a little mailbox out front. Karen's house is next door, and it's the fanciest one on the block. She's got flowers everywhere, pink ones, yellow ones, red ones, all lined up perfectly like soldiers. Her grass is always cut short, and she's got this big sign in her yard that says HOA President in shiny gold letters. Everyone knows she's in charge around here, or at least she thinks she is. Me, I'm just Jake. I've got messy brown hair and I usually wear jeans and sneakers. I'm not loud or flashy, I like keeping things simple. That's why I love my drone. It's small, but it can do big things like fly over the rooftops and see stuff I can't see from the ground. I'd only had it for a week and I was still learning all its tricks. But that Saturday, I didn't know it was going to turn into such a huge adventure. After Karen stormed off, I kept flying my drone for a little longer. I made it swoop down low, then shoot back up high, watching the video screen on my controller. The trees looked tiny from up there, and I could even see Karen's backyard, her fancy patio furniture, and a little fountain she's always bragging about. I wasn't trying to spy or anything, I was just having fun. But I had this feeling in my stomach that things weren't over yet. Karen's "you'll be sorry" was stuck in my head, and I wondered what she meant. So what do you think Karen's next move was? Was she going to call someone, write me a mean note, or maybe something even crazier? I didn't know it then, but that Saturday was just the start of something wild. Karen thought she could scare me, but she didn't know my secret. And trust me, when she found out, her jaw was going to hit the floor. Want to know what happened next? Keep watching, because this story about to get really good. Okay, let's keep this story rolling. Karen wasn't the kind of person who just forgets stuff and moves on. Oh no, she was like a dog with a bone she wouldn't let go. After that Saturday when she yelled at me about my drone, things got even crazier. By the time Monday came around, I walked outside to grab the mail, and there it was, a nasty little note stuck right on my front door. It was written in big, messy letters with a black marker. No DRONESALLOWED. I'm calling the HOA. I pulled the note off and read it again just to make sure I wasn't imagining things. Nope, it was real. Karen had gone full detective mode. I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud right there on my porch. My drone wasn't even breaking any rules. I'd checked the HOA rulebook myself when I got it, just to be sure. There was nothing in there about drones being bad or loud or anything. But Karen didn't care about facts. She just wanted to be mad and bossy. I crumpled up the note and tossed it in the trash. No big deal, right, wrong. Karen wasn't done, not even close. She started popping up everywhere like a grumpy shadow following me around. Every time I went outside, there she was. One time I was just mowing my lawn, pushing the mower back and forth, minding my own business, and she leaned over her porch railing, yelling at me. "That drone of yours is trouble," she shouted. "I'm watching you, Jake." Her voice was so loud, I bet the whole street heard her. She didn't stop there. She had this big, thick rule book, the HOA one she loved so much, and she'd wave it around like it was a magic wand. One afternoon, I was walking my dog, Buddy, down the sidewalk. He's a little brown pup who likes to sniff everything. Karen marched out of her house, rulebook in hand, and started flapping it at me. "It says right here," she said, pointing at some page. "No noise, no bothering people, your drone's against the rules." I looked at her, then at Buddy, who just wagged his tail like nothing was wrong. "Karen," I said, super calm, "it's not in there, I checked." But she didn't listen. She just kept waving that book and huffing like an angry dragon. It got worse. She started talking to the neighbors about me, spreading stories like wildfire. I heard from my friend Tim, who lives 2 houses down, that Karen told everyone I was disturbing the peace. That's a fancy way of saying I was being annoying. She said my drone was buzzing around like a giant bee, keeping people awake and ruining their days. I couldn't believe it. I only flew it in my backyard, and not even every day, just a few times for fun. But Karen made it sound like I was flying it over her house all night long or something. Then came the day I'll never forget. It was Wednesday, and I was out in my yard again, flying my drone. The sun was starting to set, so the sky was all orange and pretty. I was making the drone do little loops, watching the video on my controller screen. It was peaceful until Karen showed up. I didn't even hear her at first. She was sneaky this time, standing by the fence with her phone out, filming me. The second I turned around, she held that phone up high like a trophy. "I've got proof now." She screeched, her voice all high and scratchy. "You're done for, Jake. This is going straight to the HOA." I froze for a second, just staring at her. Her red lipstick was smeared a little, and her sunglasses were slipping down her nose. She looked so proud, like she'd just caught me stealing cookies from her kitchen. "Proof of what?" I asked, keeping my voice nice and steady. Proof you're breaking the rules, she snapped. This video's going to end your little drone games. She shook her phone at me, then turned and stomped back to her house, muttering stuff I couldn't hear. I didn't yell back, I didn't even frown. I just smiled and kept flying my drone, making it zoom up high over the trees. See, here's the thing, Karen thought she had me all figured out. She thought I was just some clueless guy she could scare with her notes and her yelling and her silly phone video. She figured I'd panic, put my drone away and say, "Sorry, Karen, you win." But nope, I wasn't scared of her threats, not one tiny bit. Why? Because I knew something she didn't. Something big was coming, like a storm she couldn't see yet. Karen was so busy being mad and waving her rule book that she didn't notice she was walking right into it. Every time she yelled, every time she filmed me, she was making it worse for herself. I wasn't just playing with a toy, I had a plan, a secret that was going to flip this whole thing upside down. She thought she was the smart one, but I was the one smiling for a reason. Picture it, me standing there in my sneakers, holding my controller while my drone buzzed happily in the air. Karen thought she was winning, but she was so wrong. She didn't know I'd been ready for her tricks all along. Her note, her yelling, her little video, none of it bothered me. I let her keep going because I knew the truth would come out soon, and when it did, she'd wish she'd left me alone. So there I was, watching her march away, thinking she'd beat me. The neighborhood was quiet again, just the sound of my drone humming and a few birds chirping. I made the drone do one more flip, then brought it down to land on the grass. I picked it up, brushed some dirt off and headed inside. Karen thought she was in charge, but she had no clue what was about to happen. And trust me, it was going to be awesome. Alright, let's jump back into this wild story. Things started getting weirder super fast after Karen's big meltdown with her phone video. She wasn't just mad anymore, she was like a tornado spinning out of control. One day I was just chilling inside my house, eating a peanut butter sandwich when I heard it. Bang, bang, bang. Someone was pounding on my front door like they were trying to break it down. I peeked out the window and guess who it was? Yup, Karen. I opened the door just a crack, keeping it small so she couldn't push her way in. There she was, standing on my porch with her hands on her hips. Her face was all red and her sunglasses were pushed up on her head like a crown. "Stop flying that noisy machine right now," she shouted, so loud I bet the birds in the trees flew away. She meant my drone, of course. I hadn't even flown it that day yet. It was still sitting on my kitchen table, but she didn't care. She was on a mission. "Hi, Karen," I said, trying to sound nice. "Sorry if it bugged you, I'll be careful." I gave her a little smile, then shut the door before she could yell more. Did I stop flying my drone? Nope. The next day I took it out to the backyard again, making it buzz around like nothing happened. Karen thought she could scare me, but I wasn't scared at all. And here's the cool part, she had no idea I was recording everything. See, my drone's got this tiny camera on it, and I'd been using it to catch every single thing Karen did. Every time she yelled at me, I got it Howard Mumford Jones it on video. Every shout, every mean word, even the time she stomped into my yard like she owned the place, I had it all saved on my phone. She'd bang on my door and I'd turn on the recording. She'd wave her rule book and click, it was mine. I didn't tell her though. I kept it super secret, staying all calm and quiet on the outside. But inside, I was buzzing like my drone, waiting for the perfect moment to use it. Karen kept going though, she didn't stop. One time I was outside fixing my bike, nothing to do with the drone, and she marched right into my yard. "You think you're so smart," she yelled, stomping her feet on my grass. "I'm going to fix this, Jake." I just nodded and said, "Okay, Karen," then went back to my bike. She huffed and puffed and stormed off, but I got it all on video. Every stomp, every shout, it was like a movie starring angry Karen. Then one afternoon, things got really wild. I was inside, playing a video game, when I glanced out the window. There was Karen packing back and forth in her driveway with her phone pressed to her ear. She was talking fast, waving her free hand like she was swatting flies. I couldn't hear her at first, so I cracked the window just a little. That's when I caught it. "Yes, 911, there's a drone harassing me," she cried into the phone. My jaw dropped. She'd actually called the cops over my toy drone. I shut the window quick and sat back, shaking my head. I couldn't believe it. Who calls 911 over something so silly? But here's the funny thing, I wasn't worried. Not even a little bit. Why? Because I had a surprise up my sleeve, and Karen was about to trip right over it. See, all this time I'd been super chill, letting her yell and stomp and call whoever she wanted. I didn't argue back or get mad, I just smiled and kept going. That's because I knew something she didn't. My secret was like a puzzle, and all the pieces were falling into place one by one. Every time Karen got mad, she made it worse for herself. Her banging on my door, recorded. Her stomping in my yard, on video. Now her calling 911. Oh, that was the best part yet. I didn't run around or panic. I just sat there thinking about how she'd feel when my surprise popped out. She thought she was winning, like she was the big boss of the neighborhood. But she was wrong. She was walking straight into something she'd never see coming. Picture this, me sitting on my couch, controller in hand, with my drone parked nearby. Outside, Karen's packing like a caged tiger, yelling into her phone about how my noisy machine was ruining her life. She thought the cops would show up, tell me off, and take my drone away. She thought she'd dance around all happy, saying, "I told you so, Jake." But nope, that's not how this story was going to go. I leaned back and grinned. The perfect moment was getting closer. Karen didn't know it, but she just dialed up her own big oopsie. My recordings were ready, my secret was set, and soon she'd regret ever messing with me and my drone. It was like a game, and I was about to win big time. Alright, here we go, the most exciting part of the story. It was Friday, and the week had been wild with Karen's yelling and stomping. I decided it was time to have some fun again, so I grabbed my drone and headed to my backyard. The sun was shining, the sky was clear, and a little breeze made it perfect for flying. I turned on my drone and it buzzed to life, lifting off the grass like a happy little bird. I pushed the controller sticks and it zoomed up high, way over the trees. I could see everything on my video screen, the rooftops, the yards, even Karen's fancy fountain. It was awesome. I was grinning, making the drone swoop and spin, when all of a sudden I heard something loud. Wee-oh-oh, wee-oh-oh, sirens. My heart jumped a little, but not because I was scared, just surprised. I looked over my fence and there was Karen standing in her driveway. She had her arms crossed tight and a big, sneaky smirk stretched across her face. She looked like a cat that just caught a mouse, like she thought she'd won something big. I tilted my head, wondering what was up, when a police car rolled down the street and stopped right in front of my house. Two cops stepped out. One was tall with a hat and the other was shorter with sunglasses. They walked toward me, their boots crunching on the gravel. Karen didn't waste a second. She practically bounced over, pointing at me like I was a bad guy in a movie. "That's him," she shouted, her voice all squeaky and excited. "He's the one with the drone. He's breaking the law." She stood there, smirking even bigger, like she'd just solved the biggest mystery ever. The cops looked at me, then at her, then back at me. The tall one scratched his head and said, "We got a call about a drone. What's going on here?" I didn't say anything at first. I just grinned, yup, a big happy grin, because this was it. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. "Officers," I said, super calm and friendly, "good to see you. Check this out." I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Karen's smirk wobbled a little, like she wasn't sure what I was up to. I tapped the screen a few times and up came my videos, all the ones I'd been secretly recording for weeks. I held the phone out so the cops could see. "Take a look," I said. The tall cop leaned in and the short one peeked over his shoulder. The first video showed Karen banging on my door, yelling about my noisy machine. The next one had her stomping into my yard, waving her rulebook like a crazy person. Then there was the one where she filmed me with her phone, screeching about proof. The cops watched it all, their eyebrows going up higher with every clip. Karen's smirk started to melt and her arms dropped to her sides. She looked like she'd just swallowed a sour lemon. But I wasn't done yet. Oh no, I had one more trick to play, the best one of all. I lowered my phone and looked right at the cops. "By the way," I said, super casual, "this isn't just a hobby. I'm a licensed drone pilot and I'm testing this drone for the police department. You guys hired me last month." Boom, I dropped that bomb like it was no big deal, but inside I was cheering. The cops' faces lit up. They knew exactly who I was now. The tall one nodded, and the short one even smiled a little. "Karen, oh poor Karen, her mouth fell open so wide I bet a fly could have zoomed right in. Her face went white, like ghost white, and she started stammering. "Wait, what?" she said, her voice all shaky. "You're with them." She pointed at the cops, then at me, then back at the cops, like she couldn't figure out what was happening. I just nodded and said, "Yup, that's me." The tall cop turned to her and said, "Ma'am, is that why you called us over his drone?" His voice sounded like he was trying not to laugh. Karen blinked fast, her big sunglasses slipping down her nose. But he's been harassing me," she squeaked. The short cop shook his head. "Doesn't look like that to us," he said, tapping my phone. "Looks like you've been the one causing trouble." Karen's jaw dropped even more, if that was possible, and she took a step back. That smirk, gone, totally wiped off her face. She looked like a balloon that just got popped. Here's the best part. The cops weren't even there for me. Nope, they already knew about my drone stuff because I worked with them. Karen's little 911 call didn't bring them to stop me, it just brought them to see her mess up. I'd been testing my drone for the police department, helping them figure out how to use it for cool things like finding lost people or checking big areas fast. I had a special license and everything. It was all legit. Karen thought she'd called the cops to get me in trouble, but she just made herself look like the biggest fool on the block. I stood there holding my drone controller, watching it all unfold. The drone was still buzzing above us, nice and high, like it was laughing at Karen too. The tall cop handed my phone back and said, "Thanks, Jake, good work." The short one looked at Karen and added, "Ma'am, we'll talk to you in a minute." Karen's eyes got huge and she started sputtering words that didn't even make sense, like rules and HOA and not fair. but no one was listening to her anymore. I grinned wider than ever. All those weeks of her yelling, banging on my door and filming me, they'd led to this. Karen thought she was so smart, calling 911 like it was her big win. But it was